As long as you're putting it in the right spot, the fish will bite. You're getting more for your buck here. Well, what's up guys, and thank you for tuning in to another adventure. Today we are going to be working on customizing our own jigs. There are all different kinds of colors, shapes, and sizes. So as you can see, here is a couple variations of fingernail polish, and this is just a handful that I grabbed from Walmart, ranging anywhere from $1 to roughly $1.25. I think Dollar Tree might also have them ranging about $1, $1.25. You know, all kinds of places have all different kinds of fingernail polish, and it's really great to use on, you know, jig heads, and I've seen people also use them on crankbaits, just all kinds of stuff. So it's just kind of a cheap material to use if you don't want to go spend, you know, a chunk of money on actual jig paint. Let me show you what we're working with today. So I went to Walmart and I purchased this hand fish jig kit. And so what this holds is actually a variation of different sizes and weight. And also, there's some already colored, which we can always paint over that if that's not the colors that you prefer. So with this jig kit, it ran roughly $7. And that's actually a really good price because I believe I buy most of my jig heads at Academy, and they come in a little pouch for roughly, I think it's anywhere from $1 to $2. So if you break that down, I mean, you're getting more for your buck here, and it's different weights. So that's just my personal opinion, but we're gonna break into this and show you what we're working with. So I'm gonna just take a couple of different sizes here, lay them out. Alright, so here we have just a couple of the different weights, and also one of each of the painted. And you know, you also can just the ones that are already pre-painted. Sometimes they're just a little bit more pricey, all because they do already have the color on them. I find that it's a lot cheaper just to buy these and just to paint them yourself, because you can't always find the colors that you're looking for anyways. So let's go ahead and get started with some white, chartreuse, and black. Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just a couple, and I'm going to give it a little bit of white body. What I have sitting to the side here is just a piece of wire that I bent. And what these little grooves do is after I'm done painting it, I just slide it there and I'll leave it to hang and dry. And it, believe it or not, doesn't take very long for them to dry. So we'll go ahead and get started. So this one here is actually white, and it glows within a black light. So maybe if you're night fishing and you're using some form of light underneath the water, that might actually help that jig head pop a little bit more. Honestly, I haven't actually used this when night fishing. So if you have, let me know if it actually works for you. So what I'm doing to start off is I'm just putting a light coat of the white on it, and I'm gonna let it sit and dry. And what this is gonna allow me to do is the next color that I do decide to paint this jig with. Hopefully that color will be a little bit more vibrant. I'm gonna paint one of these just black. Now I know they also do sell the jig paint that you can just dip the head in, and yeah, that might be a bit faster, but it might not be worth your time to spend the money on it, you know? And for me, I just paint a handful of them, take them out when I'm fishing, and make do with what I got. I don't find it's absolutely necessary to go and purchase that paint, but some may think otherwise. So as we're letting those jig heads dry for a moment, I'm gonna go ahead and show you just a little bit about how I add tinsel. What I have here are just a couple colors that they had at the Dollar Tree, and like I said, it's about $1.25 each now. This was all I had. This is what I picked up. So with that being said, I did already pre-cut some of these sizes, and just depending on the jig head and how much you actually want to put on there. We're going to start off with the purple. I find that the purple is pretty nice in the water. Gives the fish something really nice to hone in on. This is just straight purple, and this is a little bit of purple with a little bit of shine. That seems to be the prettiest of them. I'm starting off with this little bit of jig head here. So actually how this benefits is this little notch here down at the bottom. We're actually going to use that to hold the tinsel. And you also want to have used some kind of super glue. I also bought this at the Dollar Tree. They have them in like a 1 or 2 pack, and it's very cheap. So I'll start by wrapping the tinsel around that notch, and I'll just start wrapping it on the hook itself. What you can do is add just a little bit of super glue to hold that down. So as you're placing that on there, I'm literally just holding the top and just wrapping it as tight as I can. And you see where this hook point is? I'm gonna line it up right where that hook point is. Then once you reach it, whatever extra you have, you can either clip it off. I just typically continue to wrap it up. It also helps it gain a little bit bigger profile. And this is what we're looking at. So now that I've got that, I'm gonna add just a little bit more of the super glue, and this will just help keep it on the shank and help keep it on the hook. Just use it in the areas that you feel might need it, and then you just hang it up. Let's check one of these, see if it's dried enough. Alright. Here's our first little white jig. And so we'll go ahead and start. I'm gonna add a mixture of chartreuse and black. So we'll start with a little bit of chartreuse on the midsection, and then give it a black back. For every color that I paint, I give it time to dry. Here's our second one. This one, we'll put a little bit of black in the centerpiece of it. The best part about this is when you're decorating it, you can make it exactly how you want it. When you're just dipping, you know, you're putting that bait in it and it's coming out with one color. This way, it doesn't have to be a solid color unless you absolutely want it to be. I'm gonna go back over this black one real quick. Alright, so that's the start. While those are continuing to dry, I'm going to also show you a little bit different style. So this is a pre-painted jig, a little red head, and we're actually going to take this one. We are going to add, this purple with the white tinsel on it. And also we're going to be adding some feathers. So let's see what we got here. I bought this bag of feathers from, I believe it was also the Dollar Tree. Mind you, they do not look the greatest, but you know, ultimately when you drop a jig in the water, as long as you're putting it in the right spot, the fish will bite. So let's see what colors we want to use. Well, alright. Let's add a little bit of pink. A little bit of red. Yep. Alright. So we're going to use a little bit of pink and a little bit of red. Let's see how we're going to put this together. So I'm going to get started again. It has the little shank down at the bottom here. And I'm going to just twist this around it. Get a nice hold. Add a little bit of the super glue. Just holding that down. Pulling it tight. So first I'm just putting like a thin layer along the shank of the hook. And once again, I'm just matching it up with that tip. Don't want to go too far, because if you bring it out too far, when that fish goes to bite the hook, it might have enough pressure to actually spit it out, and it might just not get hooked that well. So you want to leave enough of the hook showing to where they can get enough of it in their mouth. So now that I've got a thin layer of that, I'm going to go and cut the feathers the length of which we want. And, you know, probably sometimes it's always easiest to go ahead and put it in there as a whole and then go back and trim it. It just depends on your preference. Alright, so we cut it, and I'm going to take the end and I'm going to kind of twist it together. I'm gonna place it right inside. I'm gonna place it right next to that hook, and I'm gonna just start wrapping the tinsel around. And this should lock that feather in place. What I did was I actually took that feather after I tied it on there, and I just kind of split it so we have the pink on both sides. Now we're gonna add this red. So this red is actually gonna indicate some kind of distress, maybe a bait dying, it's been harmed some way, somehow, and that's why we're adding a little bit of red. Alright, so we're gonna add a little bit more pink. And as I'm wrapping this around, I'm working my way up towards the head. Alright. So now it's together. And what we have here is we have the jig head, the tinsel, the two different colors of the feathers, which we can trim up. And the red just looks like maybe it's bleeding. So go ahead and trim this up a little bit. Honestly, I don't trim them up too much because as it's in the water, flaring around, it gives it more of a presentation. Alright. So that's one. And that hook, still plenty of it. And that's the first one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just add a little bit more of our super glue to the front, because I just want to make sure that it doesn't come unraveled there. Back to the ones that we painted. So this small little black jig head, I'm actually just gonna keep it black, and we're gonna finish this one up with a clear coat. Now, what I've realized is this clear coat here, it just helps, one, keep everything solid, so if you start knocking it around something, it's less likely to peel off right away. But also what it does is it helps keep that shine. Because sometimes after you paint with fingernail polish, depending on the paint, it doesn't always come out with that shine. And those ladies out there who paint their nails, they know what I'm talking about. Sometimes it just does not come out the same if you don't add that clear coat. So let's see what else we got here. We'll start off with this one. Alright. Thinking for this one, we won't paint it, but we will add something else. Probably take, we're gonna take this green, black, and like white tinsel here. And with that, I also have, I went and bought this from the Dollar Tree as well. You know, it's Halloween season, so why not? So we'll take this and we are going to basically cut off these little bugos or tear it off, you know. And throw those to the side. Now, I'm gonna add these together. You can, what I've done in the past is just tear off some of these fringes here and wrap it around individually, and you end up with, let's see, I have an example around here. You end up with something kind of like this. This one's kind of been sitting funny, so you end up with something like that. Or you can actually just take this by itself and wrap it around. The only thing is this doesn't really stay very well, so that's kind of why I'm gonna be, you know, intertwining these. I find that the tinsel actually holds a lot better. So we're gonna start with that first. Okay. So we got it started. Once again, right at that shank there, right after the ball head, I'm gonna add a little bit of super glue. And what we'll do is we'll just try to twist this in with it. So bring that around. Just wrap it around that a little bit. I'm still following the same concept though. I'm not gonna go any further than that shank. I know that's kind of hard to see at this moment, but let's see. Still not going any further than that hook point. And once you get it, you're just gonna wrap this bad boy back on in, getting a better grip. And also when you're wrapping it back up, it's gonna take some of that extra out of the way, and that green will actually show through a bit. So you're gonna have a couple different colors shining through. So for this one, we definitely have a longer tail, so we're gonna have no option but to cut this. And then also we want to cut the excess off of here. Okay, so this is what we have as of right now. It looks a little crazy, I know. It looks just like a big old ball of junk, right? So what I typically do is I will go through and I'm gonna pull these bigger black pieces off. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna allow all those little pieces to kind of poke out more. You'll be able to see them more. And that shiny silver tinsel will come on through. And when it's in the water, it'll shine great. The fish will definitely be able to see it. Because all these bulkier black pieces, they're just kind of hiding all that smaller shininess, and that's exactly what we don't want. It's looking better. It's looking better. Alright, show y'all what we're working with. So here, once again, you still see this hook here. You got plenty of space. But then all this is poking up, right? So what you can do is just kind of go around with some scissors, trim it up a little bit, make it look less crazy, right? But sometimes the fish like that. Sometimes they, take for examples like the bucktails. They flare out tremendously, and the fish still are attracted to that, right? So don't be scared to experiment. Don't be scared to try different things that others don't. But trust me, doing things differently actually attracts more fish. Because where everybody else is out there fishing those same old jig heads. Like, you go to Walmart and buy all these jig heads. You know, put the same soft plastic worm on it and have 10 other people doing the same thing, and you might not get a single bite. And you go out there with a jig like this, and it looks freaking crazy, and everybody's like, there's no way you're gonna catch a fish on that. And you go out there and you might just pull all of them out the water. And it's all because you're throwing something different. So don't ever be scared to do your own thing. Alright, so I just trimmed it up a little bit. And this is what we got right now. You know, nothing fantastic, but let me tell you, you throw that in the water with that black and that shine, oh, it's gonna bring them. It's gonna bring them. So, last but not least, I am gonna add a little bit more glue just so it holds better. That's just my personal preference. I mean, if you feel like it's staying on there good enough, you realistically don't have to have this glue. I just find over time, you know, you constantly beat these jig heads right up against rocks and sticks, and sometimes it gets hung up in there, and I just find that the more it gets hung up, the more it's likely to tear it apart. Like anything, right? So we're gonna let that hang and dry a bit. Alright, so I've gone ahead and put a clear coat on the remaining jig heads. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put some string on a couple of these and just show you the type of action and what they might look like in the water. Of course, the water we have here is not dingy, so obviously in dingier water it may look different. But this kind of gives you an idea of the presentation that you'll be looking at. Now I have tied on like this in the water a non-slip loop knot. So here I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like if I was to drop one of these in the water. Now I have tied on a non-slip loop knot. So this is one that I've made previously. Turn that so you can see it a little better without the words in the way. So if you look at this one, it kind of looks like a bug of some kind. It's floating in the water. So here goes the green tinsel. Also with the non-slip loop knot. You can see that little bit of shine just coming off of it. So this would probably work better in dingy water. So here's just a regular one that we painted. A little bit of white, black, and a blue back. Nothing else on it. Alright, last but not least, we're going to throw the one in with the feathers. I think it didn't come out too bad. Got a little bit of shine. think if I was a fish, I would eat it. So we have customized our jigs. We have seen how they look in the water. And now, last but not least, we are gonna make our own jig box holder. What that looks like is, I have this little box here. I believe I got it from Hobby Lobby or Michael's, but I do remember it was $1. So still in the cheap range, so that's great. And the sides just clip off and the top comes off as easy as that. So when doing this, I have a pool noodle, which I also bought for $1. And what I've already done is I just cut about the size of the box. I cut it, and then I sliced it in half, and then once it got to this, I just cut it in little blocks, or little slices, I guess is a better way to say it. And what that gave me was this right here. So there's all kinds of different ways to do this, but this is just the way that I'm gonna go ahead and start doing it. So I cut our little lines of the pool noodle, and what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna stick it with the rounded side towards the bottom, and I'm gonna glue that, and then leave this little slender part towards the top, and the jig will actually hook in to the side of this, and you'll see that whenever we get done. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing these pieces in, and then you'll see the final piece in just a minute. Alright, so what we have here is I went ahead and put them this way versus this way, and what this will enable me to do is to put different sizes. As you can see, there's a wider gap here than there is down towards the bottom, and I want to put the smaller jigs here and the bigger ones towards the top. So let me just show you what that looks like. Alright, so this is the final piece with the ones that we actually created, but as you can see, there's still loads of room in there for so many more jigs. And I mean, you could just pile them on in here. So let's just see. So realistically, even if you weren't customizing your own, if you wanted to just make this little jig box just so that way you have something to go out with, and it just helps keep them secure, helps them from ending up all over the place, I mean, hey, I'd do it. It's really handy. And I know personally, whenever I go out fishing, and I mean, I just love jig fishing in general, so whenever I have them, I have a lot. And they end up all over the place, because I just never end up having them organized. But something like this, I mean, works out great. They don't fall. You can easily secure them in the box, and that right there is a great fit. You can pretty much fit that anywhere. Alright, so before we wrap up today's video, I just want to give a shout out to the YouTube channel Fishing and Stuff. I'm gonna have his YouTube channel linked down in the description if you want to check him out. He has a lot of DIYs, fishing hacks, and I just think he has a lot of unique things that a lot of you guys would want to check out. So go check him out, show him some love, show this page some love with a like, a comment, and please subscribe. And let me know, like, what videos is it that you prefer to see? What videos is it that you would want to see me do more of? You know, I'm out there trying to fish. I try to do a little bit of these creative videos as well for everybody, kind of show you all a little bit of what I do. Doesn't mean that it's for everybody, but you know, I just throw it out there in case one of you might find something a little bit interesting and want to join in as well. So that is going to be the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to see what creations you all can come up with. If you would, drop a comment, show me photos of things that you've created, whether it be jigs, crankbaits, any kind of lures, soft lures. Show me how creative you can be. And until next time.